The air was heavy with mist, a thick shroud clinging to the craggy coastline. Fisherman Angus had lived by the sea his entire life, its rhythms and moods as familiar to him as the pulse of his own heart. But that night, something was different. Something was off. The sea itself seemed to breathe, and its breath was cold and sinister. Angus had just hauled his nets ashore, the silence broken only by the distant crash of waves and the mournful cries of the seabirds. As he stopped to pick up his catch, movement out on the rocks caught his eye. At first he thought it was just a seal, one of the many that bobbed and played in the waters near the shore. But then it stood. Slowly, gracefully, the creature unfurled itself from the rocks, its slick, wet skin catching the faint moonlight. It was no longer a seal. Angus squinted into the dim light, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. There, standing on the jagged rocks, was a woman, tall, slender, her skin pale as the mist that surrounded her. Her long black hair clung to her body, dripping salt water onto the stones below. But it wasn't just her strange beauty that unsettled him. It was the way she moved, like she didn't belong on land. Her limbs were too fluid, too alien. Her dark eyes were wide, reflecting the pale glow of the moon, and they locked onto him with an intensity that froze him in place. She stepped toward him, her feet silent on the wet rocks. Angus backed away, his heart pounding in his chest, but he couldn't look away. As she drew closer, he noticed something in her hands, a sleek, dark shape, heavy with the smell of the ocean. It was a sealskin, folded carefully like a precious relic. Her lips parted slightly, and though no words passed between them, he understood. She wanted it back. Whatever she was, whoever she had been before, she belonged to the sea. Angus ran, leaving his nets, his boats, and his courage behind. He never saw the woman or the creature again. But every time he heard the seals barking at night, a cold shiver ran down his spine. Tonight, my friends, we look into the Selkie. Selkies, the mysterious and tragic creatures of the sea, are said to be both seal and human, their lives caught in the delicate balance between two worlds. In their natural state, they appear as sleek, graceful seals, gliding effortlessly through the cold waters of the North Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, and the misty shores of Scotland, Ireland, and the Faroe Islands. Their dark, glistening eyes are often said to be unnervingly intelligent, watching with a depth that suggests something more than just animal instinct. But it is when they shed their sealskins that their true mystery emerges. In human form, a Selkie is extraordinarily beautiful, their skin smooth and pale, often tinged with a bluish hue, as though the sea still clings to them. Their hair is long and dark, dripping with salt water, and their eyes, always their eyes, remain as deep and haunting as they were in their seal form. There is something ethereal about their appearance, though they belong to more than the mist and waves than to the solid ground beneath their feet. Selkies are bound to their sealskins, and this connection to the ocean is both their strength and their curse. Without their skins, they cannot return to the sea, trapped on land until they reclaim the part of themselves that belongs to the water. Many of the legends surround them tell of human men, fishermen, sailors, who find these skins, hiding them away to force a Selkie into marriage, to make them human in all ways but one. But the Selkies never truly belong to the land. They pine for the sea, their eyes always drawn to the horizon. No matter how much time they spend in human form, the call of the ocean remains irresistible. Some say that the Selkies are the souls of those lost at sea, cursed to walk the shores until they can return to the water. Others believe that they are ancient spirits of the sea, beings older than humanity itself, whose only desire is to return to the depths from which they came. In both cases, the lore surrounding the Selkies is deeply melancholic, filled with stories of love, loss, and betrayal. The Selkie is a creature of longing, forever torn between the sea and the land, unable to fully belong to either. The tale of Angus is one of many whispered along the shores of the North Sea, across the mist-cloaked coasts of Scotland and Ireland. Stories abound of strange encounters with beings that defy human understanding, beings that are said to belong more to the sea than to the land. In the village of Dunleary, Moira? Yeah, like I said, sometimes names and stuff, but this was one with stories. It was Moira. Moira's encounter with a creature she could never explain left her with nightmares for years. She was a girl of only 16 at the time, wandering the shore with a basket slung over her arm, collecting driftwood as the sun began to sink beneath the cliffs. The sun was calm that evening, a smooth sliver surface stretching endlessly on the horizon. As she made her way along the rocky beach, Moira became aware of a set of eyes watching her. At first she thought nothing of it. Seals were common along these shores, and they often swam close to the shore, their curious eyes peeking above the waves. But as she walked, she noticed one particular seal, much larger than the others, keeping pace with her movements. It seemed to study her face, its dark eyes fixed on her every step. Unnerved, Moira quickened her pace, but the seal swam faster, cutting through the water with unsettling ease. Then, to her horror, the creature pulled itself on the rocks, its sleek body glistening in the dim twilight. She stood frozen, her heart pounding in her chest. The creature, now fully on land, began to shift. It writhed, twisted, and contorted as its form elongated. The skin, once smooth and wet like polished stone, began to peel away, revealing pale, human limbs beneath. Before her stood a man, his skin almost luminous in the fading light, his dark, wild hair dripping with seawater. His eyes, though human, retained the cold, calculating gaze of a predator. He didn't speak, but his lips curled into a knowing smile, as though he could sense her fear. Without waiting another moment, Moira fled. Her basket tumbled to the ground, the driftwood spilling across the beach, forgotten. She ran all the way back to her cottage, where she bolted the door and prayed for the first time in years. To this day, she swears she can still feel that gaze on her, watching from the sea whenever she walks too close to the shore. But perhaps one of the most tragic accounts comes from the remote islands of Barra, where a fisherman named Rodney lived out the story of love and loss that haunts the island's lore to this day. Rodney had always been a solitary man, preferring the company of the sea to that of his fellow villagers. One evening, as he returned from his usual day's catch, he spotted a figure sitting on the rocks by the water's edge. From a distance, she looked like a beautiful woman, her long, dark hair flowing like waves, her skin pale against the evening sky. Intrigued and smitten by her otherworldly beauty, he approached her, and to his astonishment, she did not flee. Instead, she gazed at him with eyes that seemed to reflect the ocean itself, deep and unfathomable. The two became inseparable, and though the villagers warned Rodney to be cautious of the sea and its strange creatures, he paid them no heed. He married this mysterious woman, and for years they lived a peaceful life together. But there was something about her that always felt distant. She never spoke of her past, never ventured far from the sea, and on certain nights he would catch her standing at the shoreline, her eyes fixed on the horizon, as though longing for something lost. One day, while repairing his boat, Rodney discovered something hidden beneath the floorboards, an old, weathered sealskin, folded carefully as though it were a treasure. Realization struck him like a lightning bolt. His wife, the woman who he'd loved and shared his life with, was not human. She was a Selkie, one of the fabled seal people who walked between two worlds. His heart sank, torn between the fear of losing her and the knowledge that he had been living a lie. That night, Rodney confronted his wife, showing her the skin. Her reaction was instant. Tears filled her eyes, and she dropped to her knees, pleading with him to let her return to the sea. She explained without her skin she was trapped on land, cut off from the life she had known. Rodney, even though he was devastated, could not bear the thought of her leaving. He refused to give it back, instead hiding the skin in a place only he knew, hoping that over time she might forget her longing for the sea. But a Selkie can never forget. Over the years, the joy and warmth that had once defined their marriage faded. His wife grew more distant. Her once brilliant laughter now a rare sound in their cottage. She spent more and more time by the shore, her gaze always turned toward the water, as though she could feel the pull of the sea even without her skin. Rodney knew, deep down, that he could never truly hold her, never truly keep her. One night, during a fierce storm, Rodney returned from the sea to find their home empty. The door was ajar, and cold wind howled through the house. His heart raced as he searched the rooms, only to find the hidden spot where he placed the sealskin was torn apart. She had found it. Without hesitation, he ran to the shore, but it was too late. The storm raged around him, and through the sheets of rain he saw her, once again as a seal, slipping into the waves and disappearing beneath the tumultuous sea. The next morning, Rodney's boat was found adrift off the coast, battered by the storm. But the fisherman himself was gone. Some say he went after her, desperate to bring her back. Others believe that the sea, angered by his attempt to cage one of its own, claimed him as its own. His body was never found, but on stormy nights, the villagers say you can hear the cries of a man calling out to the sea, begging for forgiveness. And then there's the tale of young Fiona, a girl who claimed to have seen a Selkie, not a chicken, or completely different than the Silkies, a Selkie, near the shores of Skye. Fiona had been exploring the rocky tide pools when she spotted a figure in the water, just beyond the reach of the waves. At first it looked like an ordinary seal, but something about it seemed strange. The way it watched her, its eyes so human and sad, sent a chill down her spine. She knelt by the water's edge, watching as the creature swam closer, its sleek body cutting through the waves with grace. To her shock, the seal disappeared beneath the surface, only to reemerge moments later as a man with dark, wet hair, his eyes reflecting the endless depths of the ocean. He walked toward her, his steps soundless on the rocks, his gaze never leaving hers. Fiona, terrified but unable to look away, remained frozen in place as the creature drew closer. Just as he reached out a hand to her, a sudden violent wave crashed against the rocks, and he was gone, swallowed by the sea. Fiona ran back to the village, telling anyone who'd listened about the strange man she had seen. The older villagers nodded knowingly, muttering about Selkies and their trickster ways. Fiona never returned to that beach, and to this day she swears she can still feel the icy grip of his gaze, watching her from the depths, whenever she is near the sea. These stories of the Selkies are haunting reminders of the pole between two worlds, of creatures forever divided by their nature, their longing, and the mysterious depths of the sea. They remind us that the things cannot be kept, no matter how tightly we hold on to them. Perhaps the next time you walk along the shore, you'll feel the weight of eyes watching you from the water, or perhaps you'll wonder if the seals are more than they seem. But what do you think? Are the Selkies real? Could such a tragic creature truly exist? Are these tales merely the product of lonely minds staring too long at the vast, unknowable sea? Let us know your thoughts by leaving a comment or connecting with us on social media. Be sure to subscribe and never miss an episode. Until next time, stay curious and beware of what watches from the waves.